In previous videos, we saw invoices processed using the straight-through approval methods like the quick match and the three-way match. Today we'll talk about the approach taken when an invoice does not meet either of those criteria. So I'll go ahead and store this phone invoice. And we see that intelligent indexing has already pre-filled many of the index values. So I'll go ahead and store this document and let it process through the validation workflow just like the quick match and three-way match did. But because this doesn't match the criteria for three-way match or a quick match, it goes on to what's called the check details step. This is where I get to determine if the index values are indeed correct, and I have an option to correct and recheck them if necessary. But it is correct, so I'm going to go ahead and process this invoice for assignment. So continuing in the validation workflow, we now come to this step where we can assign the invoice. Now we can either assign it by cost center, whereby it would get routed to whatever user was identified in the employee records file cabinet to determine if they were the cost center manager for that cost center, or I can use the requester approval. Now, the requester approval is designed that I can use a list of users and select the requester of the goods and services. So all I need to do now is GL code this document by identifying what GL account I want to assign this to. It's a telephone invoice, and we'll say it's the cost center for general administration, and then just confirm it. Now that the validation workflow is complete, the requester approval workflow takes over, and we see now that Elizabeth Cash has the task assigned to her to approve the invoice. When she opens her task, she sees the GL coding assigned to this particular invoice, and all she needs to do is either approve or reject the invoice in order to complete the process.